Okay. Hi, Stephen. Welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me.
As we were just talking about, you were on a little over a year ago, and at that time you had a book, and I remember it was something about cranky dinosaurs.
No, well, there is a book about cranky dinosaurs. My first book was The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the Tyrantic Crankosaurus. And then I wrote the grown-up book, the adult book, which is called A Grown-Up Guide to Effective Crankiness, the Crankosaurus Method. So this is my second kids book, Snoodles, Kidoodles, Poodles, and lots of noodles.
Is this in any way related to the cranky dinosaurs?
It has no relationship whatsoever to cranky dinosaurs, other than the fact that there are people who are cranky in this book, and that led to the invention of the Snoodle.
All right. Why don't you give us just an overview of the book so I get a better idea of what it's
So
about?
this is sometime in the future, and the air was always clear, the sky was always blue, everyone was happy, and it was because of one man, Herbie Snoodleman, who invented the Snoodle. The Snoodle runs on noodles. You could go to your ramenoleum, fill up your car with noodles, and then you just drive your car, and then when you get home, you just press a button, you have a bowl of noodles ready for dinner. It was beautiful. And the thing was that before that, everybody was driving around in a krautmobile which ran on sauerkraut. And the problem with that, like everybody started smelling like sauerkraut all the time. By 10 o'clock in the morning, you walk in your office, you smell like everybody smelled like sauerkraut, and it got everybody to be really cranky. So the Snoodle was this amazing invention that everybody really loved, except for the inventor of the Krautmobile, which was Sauer Krugman. So things happen because of that. Just your business is ruined. So there's a little revenge, at least attempted revenge. But at the end, everybody's happy.
Well, I'm happy that the sauerkraut mobile didn't take off because I don't even like sauerkraut, and the idea that the entire world would smell like that, I'd have to leave the planet. I couldn't deal with that.
Yes. That I would have to leave with you. Yes.
Okay, so where did the inspiration for this book come from? What happened that made you decide to write this?
Well, it was funny. I really enjoy when I do these things, and I wasn't planning on writing this book. It just came to be. It's just everything was like very organic. So uh, after A Grown Up Guide to Effective Crankiness, I continued to write about uh, effective crankiness on my blog at stephenjosephauthor.com. And I do like writing. I have a Crankasaurus cooking class, for example, one of my blogs. So I was thinking about food, and I was thinking about noodles. The word noodles, all of a sudden I had words rhyme with noodles, and then all of a sudden I had a snoodle in my head, and then things took off. I had a story, so I just wrote it out. It was called my blog Crankasaurus Noodles, and I go, oh wow, that could be a good story, and it became a book.
Okay, do you have kids?
I have a daughter. She's going to be 27 in July.
Oh, well, not exactly a kid. I was thinking if you had young kids, if I always ask that about authors of children's books, if they have kids and they run them by the kids first, like their first critics.
I did not run it by my daughter. I ran it by my editor.
Okay. All right, good. Does the book, since it's talking about cars that run on things and noodles and sauerkraut, is there a message in there for kids? An environmental message of some kind?
There's a bunch of messages in the book. So there is about solving problems, uh, being creative, uh, Herbie Snoodleman opens up an art museum. So it's this the thing about, oh wow, like art is an amazing thing in itself. And even Sauer Krudelman, he finds a way to be happy, even though his business, his Krautmobile business, kind of went down the toilet. So he worked things out as well. So it's about working things out and how people could get along even as well. There's one picture uh, in the book that is in front of the Bronx Botanical Gardens. I'm from the Bronx, but it's spelled with a K, not an X, in the book. And you see people like fighting, and some people have wearing like masks, like has a COVID feel to it, and some people are not wearing masks. And you see this, like when I wrote it, all you hear about is people being very polarized. So I wanted to write something that people were getting together and not feeling that way. So that was kind of an inspiration too for this particular story.
This thing just absolutely reflects an animated series. I can see this whole thing in my head. Have you shopped this around to animators to make it into an actual video series?
Well, I think, the answer to the question is no, but I've already written my follow-up book for this, which is with my illustrator, and that has a lot of characters in it, and there's a lot of dialogue, and that really would be great for animators. And that book is called A Snoodle, the Zoodle Kidoodles, One Happy Schmoodle, a wackadoodle's tale from outer space. What happens in that story, the Zoodle Cadoodles from the planet Zoodle, they're out in space, and they have no brain surgeons on their planet, and they have no more rocket scientists on their planet, because all the brain surgeons and rocket scientists had poo-pooed anybody else, saying, oh, it's not brain surgery. Oh, it's not rocket science. So they were mining the galaxy, and there's a couple who happened to be bakers, and they would always tell their kids, it's not rocket science, or it's not brain surgery. So they got abducted by the Zoodles, and they were up in a spaceship, and they actually threatened planet Earth with placing vaccadoodles all around the planet to suck up all the noodles, so Earth would become a noodleless place.
There is a lot of parallel in this book to what's going on in the world right now. If you just replace noodle and oil, you can
Yeah,
make a definite parallel there. Yeah.
yeah, you definitely have a parallel there. But it turned out that Herbie Snoodleman had been a brain surgeon, and Sauer Krudelman had been a rocket scientist. So and Sauer Krudelman, who's kind of a villain in this book, actually becomes a hero in that book, and they happen to be brothers. So I make them brothers, and he invents the prickly peppered purple propulsion powered pickle, which when you put it in a Snoodle ship, goes like light years faster than speeder, the fastest things, faster than the speed of light, and got to the spaceship, and they saved the world.
Okay, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that because that sounds like an incredible tongue twister. So I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm happy that you did, and you got through it. And you got through it. So congratulations for that.
Thanks.
Let me ask you something about your blog. I see that on your bio. You have a blog called a Crankiness blog.
Yes, it's about being effectively cranky, and it's all about embracing crankiness, and that to me is very important. So I write all different kinds. I call the Crankasaurus, and I call it the common Crankasaurus. Saurus is the Yiddish word for problems, like you think you have saurus. Oh, if I had your saurus, I'd doing cartwheels. Nobody I could outdo my saurus. So I call it the Crankiness. I give it a name. And while you have a common cold where you might have 2 a year, common Crankiness is something you could have 2 or 3 just in the morning alone. So, if your kids get you late to work, you miss your train, your boss might be upset that you're late, and all of a sudden your whole morning it's filled with Crankiness. So I talk about how to embrace it and give it space and make it fun and make it more sensible.
How does one deal with Crankosaurus? Because I think that we all are filled with that at one point or another. Well, give us one little example of how you could alleviate it.
Well, so one of my favorite blogs, I wrote one called Crankasaurus Menopause. And that was because somebody wrote a very nice review saying that the person wrote, she wished I was a woman so I could write about the cure to menopause. So I said, all right, I'll give it a go. And I actually, I tried to weave different stories, but one thing I talked about is that with my wife, we have a deal that we get to be 5% insane and 20% crazy, but 75% normal. And you might think that that's kind of crazy. But what happens is that if I gave you 0% crazy, you're not allowed to be not even 1% crazy. When you become crazy, because you're only allowed 0%, you have to say, I'm crazy. I'm the one who's crazy, and that will drive me crazy, Crankiness. That it drives me crazy when you call me crazy, when you happen to be crazy and I'm not crazy, and that drives me crazy. So then I have to say that you're crazier. So it's kind of counterintuitive by giving permission to be crazy. Like my example, I give 20%. You end up only using maybe 1% crazy. But if I gave you 0%, you could be certain you'd be like at least 50, 60% crazy.
How do you determine the percentage of what is crazy? In other words, if it's just a little bit or if it's a lot, because that could be a matter of perspective.
Yes, yeah, I just used a number, and actually, people have told me that might be too much crazy, and even like insane. I get 5% insane. So if you try to calculate 365 days a year, and I'm giving you 5% insane, that means that you could spend, 10% is 36 days about, and 5% is 18 days. So I'm giving you 2.5 weeks of insanity, which is kind of generous.
That is pretty generous, and I think that that's the definition of a relationship when they talk about work and compromise. I think in a marriage, I think it's a necessity, but you've sort of illustrated it in a fun way, and I think that's great. It gives people a little bit easier time to grasp exactly what that concept means.
And the whole point is that when somebody goes into this place that makes, like if my wife is going a little, getting upset or crazy or whatever, I would say, like my eyes start rolling, I don't have to overreact to where she is, and I can have empathy for where she is,
Right.
and I just like put it on myself that like I'm not enjoying this or I have to do something about it. And she feels, because she has permission, it doesn't feel like much pressure. So it gives her space to breathe it out, and to let it go. So again, it kind of eases the pain and all of that.
Well, I think that's great, and I think that it gives people a sort of fun way to look at relationship turmoils and to sort of like a relief valve. When people get upset, then you can kind of just take it down a couple of notches, yeah, with something
That's the
fun.
point. We have to take it down. Life is too busy, and like it's almost like the fog of war. You could get lost really, really quickly. So uh, the quicker you're able to take it down a notch and see things that you don't have to overreact all the time, the better you are.
Well, Stephen, we do have to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Your latest book, and let me see if I can get this right, is Snoodles, Kidoodles, Poodles, and lots of Noodles. Did I do that right?
Yes, you did. Exactly right.
Okay, great. And the book is available now?
It's available in Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all different places. You can even go to Mom's Choice Awards because it won the gold medal, so it's in their store. So if you want to go there and get it, it's available through Mom's Choice Awards as well, and through my website. You can go on my website and get a copy.
Okay, can you give out your website?
StephenJosephAuthor.com.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again for coming on. Nice to see you, and glad everything is going well. Best of luck with